Hello all. So in the last video I had discussed in detail about the leachate collection and removal system, or otherwise it is also called as the leachate collection and drainage system. Now once the leachate which is formed within or which is generated within the landfill is collected via the leachate collection pipes, and then it is pumped into the main header pipe and removed out of the landfill system, the leachate has to be managed somehow, because we cannot just directly dump the leachate over some barren land, because the leachate is a contaminated liquid which will comprise of many chemicals. So there should be many ways to manage the leachate. So we will look into the various methods of leachate management through this video. Now, few of the methods by which a leachate can be managed at site are leachate recirculation, or by building a leachate evaporation pond, or by means of various treatment methods we can manage leachate. So one of the methods in which the leachate can be managed at site is leachate recirculation. Now in this process, the leachate which has been collected out of the collected and removed out of the leachate collection and removal system will be taken out of the landfill, and the same leachate will then be recirculated back into the landfill system. Okay, so here this is a form of temporary storage of leachate. We can consider it like that. Also, this will help in achieving uniform degradation rates within the waste deposit as well. Okay, so once the leachate is recirculated back into the landfill and it is done again and again, the quality of the leachate or the composition of the leachate will vary. And ultimately, depending on a suitable when the quality is suitable for a particular technique to be applied, then a suitable physical, chemical, or biological treatment method can be applied to this, applied for the treatment of this recirculated leachate. Okay, now wherever, in whichever landfills we are proposing to or we are planning to conduct a leachate recirculation process, those landfills should be equipped with a proper lining system as well as a proper leachate collection and removal system, because it will be not like a other landfill where leachate recirculation is not practiced, because here you need to have some additional design modifications and measures has to be taken for the controlled flow of this leachate which is being recirculated back into the landfill system. So there are some prerequisites that we have to take care for maintaining an effective leachate recirculation system, and the main components that are actually necessary for an effective leachate recirculation system are a leachate reintroduction system contained within the landfill enclosure. So this is one additional system that will come into place other than the leachate collection and removal system and the lining system. So you need to provide some access through which you can reintroduce leachate back into the landfill. Okay. Then another thing is that, and one of the important thing is a composite lining system with a leachate handling system that demonstrates a minimum of 6 months acceptable liner performance. See, if it's an already existing landfill site where you are proposing to start the leachate recirculation process, then if you want to do it there, then you just need to monitor the groundwater at the landfill, at that landfill site, and if there is no but traceable contamination in that groundwater samples, then you can introduce this leachate recirculation process in that old landfill site. But whereas if you're going to if you're planning a leachate recirculation for a new landfill, then it will be better if you give a separate performance evaluation for the liner system, because here the liner system has to be evaluated for that extra leak detection and all, because the leachate is going to be recirculated back into the landfill, and you don't want any form of uh, you know interference with the usual function of the lining system, and the liner performance should be extremely good. Okay, because in no way this recirculation should initiate any form of leakage within the liner system and ultimately contamination into the subsoil. Okay, so therefore at least or minimum 6 months performance has to be evaluated for the liner system which is to be constructed for a new landfill. Okay, then you need an adequate monitoring system for determining the level of leachate in the waste. Obviously, here there is going to be extra, other than the leachate which is already getting generated in the waste, there is the process of leachate recirculation happening. So you always have to check the level of leachate within the waste fill. Okay, so for that an additional monitoring system is required. Then provisions for runoff collection and containment must be provided on areas where any soil cover has been applied. Then this recirculation technique requires the expertise of any landfill operator. So we have to get such trained landfill operators who can understand the operational requirements of leachate recirculation. So even if some maintenance is required or even if some anomaly is detected, the trained landfill operator can definitely work on it and increase the efficiency, or let the or he can let the recirculation process happen without any sort of contamination. Now, these are some of the advantages and disadvantages of leachate recirculation process. Now, if we look at the advantages, obviously, when you are recirculating the same leachate through the landfill, there will be variation in the quality of the leachate, and ultimately there you will be able to achieve a uniform quality of leachate. And then based on the leachate quality, a particular treatment technique can be applied. Okay, and this is also a form of temporary storage of leachate, so you can actually bring down your cost which has to be utilized for leachate disposal measures. And then you can minimize the dry zones in the waste that would remain undegraded for many years, because when the leachate is recirculated through the landfill, you will be able to cover all those dry zones, and then uniform degradation rates can be achieved within the waste fill. And when you are and this process will also help in the in achieving early stabilization for your landfill. So thereby what the advantage is that the post closure time. Okay, that is a post closure maintenance period. That is, once the landfill has been closed after providing it with the final cover system, then the landfill has to be monitored and inspected for the next 25 years or so, depending upon the size of the landfill. So that post closure period will be reducing if the landfill achieves early stabilization. Okay, then there will be degradation of hazardous organic or biodegradable waste, because the possibility of waste degradation will increase because leachate is being recirculated again and again through the landfill. So many waste would get easily degraded. Okay, now, if you look at the disadvantages, obviously due to this recirculation of leachate, that is, leachate is in excess here, right? Other than the leachate which is already generated in the landfill, there is leachate recirculation happening. So there will be increased odor emissions and gas emissions and all. In one way, increased gas emissions is good, because if it can increase the if this leachate recirculation can increase the quality and quantity of the gases which are generated, then some of these gases can be utilized for energy recovery process. Okay, that is, if the particular gas has depending on its energy value or calorific value, we can um, convert into some other form of energy. So we can use it for some other energy recovery process. So that is one advantage, but then obviously there will be this orders and all which will be elevated due to this recirculation process. Then there is a possibility that a leachate head would form above the liner system, and we have already seen that we should try to minimize the interaction between the liner and the leachate, but due to this recirculation process, there is a possibility that a leachate head would form above the liner, which would ultimately it can find its way into the liner system. So that is one way of reducing the efficiency of the liner system. Then, in the case of landfills which are constructed above ground, this leachate outbreaks will be a possibility. Okay, then landfill operators have to be extremely cautious and they have to take all the precautionary measures, because there is a chance that leachate outbreaks can happen. Because for above ground landfills, even though you're providing a daily cover and all, but still the daily cover is not that impermeable. Okay, so there is a chance that the leachate formed or the circulated will have some outbreaks or overflow into the uh, outside of the landfill. Okay. So next way, one of the other methods of managing leachate collected from the landfill site is to build a evaporation pond for the leachate at the site itself. Now these ponds, what they do is they will be the leachate collected and removed out of the system will be sprayed onto this lined leachate ponds. Okay, so basically you have to dig a depression on the ground, and you cannot just directly dump the leachate over that depression, because there also you have to provide a proper lining system. Okay, maybe a geomembrane layer, geomembrane sheet can be provided all over the pond. Okay, and then even if you pour the leachate, there will not be any percolation into the subsoil below. So basically that's why these are called as lined leachate ponds, because you have to line it with a proper liner material or a impermeable material which will not allow the percolation of this leachate into the subsoil. Now to this line material you will be pouring the collected leachate from the landfills, and then the leachate will be left to evaporate. Okay, so the basic design specifications are, um, you have to provide a minimum, you have to line it with a minimum 2 mm high density polyethylene geomembrane sheet. Okay, and on top of that you have to give a secondary geomembrane sheet which is again made with high density polyethylene. Okay, and then you will have at the bottom basically you will have a 300 mm engineered subgrade. So it is like a 300 mm engineered subgrade over which you will have one geomembrane layer, and then you will have a another geomembrane layer. Okay, basically two geomembrane layers will be there to give that extra protective uh, measure. And then these will be left to evaporate in the ponds, and finally what you will be left with is the sludge. Okay, and then the sludge has to be removed periodically from this leachate evaporation ponds. But that too, you cannot just remove the sludge just like that. You'll have to check, the sludge will also contain some contaminants, so you have to find the appropriate locations. Sometimes the sludge can be put back into the same landfill system itself, but otherwise you will have to get some other approved locations where you can dispose of the sludge. And when you're constructing the leachate evaporation ponds, you have to make sure that uh, there is no access for anyone, like unauthorized access can be prevented by providing a fencing system, and also it is kind of a safety precaution that we can give. Okay, so fencing can be given around the evaporation pond. Okay, and also when the ponds are constructed, the crest of the pond, okay, that is the edge of the pond, that should be taken above the level of the natural ground level. Okay, otherwise what will happen is that if the pond is lying below the natural ground level, then a runoff can easily come and fall into your ponds. Okay, which will again be an extra measure, which will be a for of extra precautionary measures. Everything will have to be taken. So instead of that, what we can do is the crest of the pond can be taken higher than the natural ground level, so that no runoff or no other surface water will fall into your evaporation ponds. Okay, and obviously this is a huge pond which is left open itself, so there will be huge odor emissions which will be coming. So to keep it under control, aerators can be provided within the pond, so that no to the so that odor control can be achieved. Okay, and these ponds also have to be designed for accommodating the maximum volume of leachate that can come out of the landfill system. And obviously, when you are, there are softwares. We have seen that there are softwares to assess the quantity of leachate which can be generated out of a particular type of landfill, particular size landfill system. And when you are assessing the quantity of the leachate, you always have to assess it for the leachate quantity generated during monsoon periods as well, because that will always be extra. Okay, so basically, after assessing for considering for all those factors and then assessing the total quantity of leachate that can be generated out of your landfill, you can design the pond for that capacity. Okay, now these are natural evaporation ponds which can be dug at site and which can be lined with geomembrane layers. Okay, other than these, there are equipments available, huge equipments available for carrying out the same process of evaporation. So they are called as leachate evaporators. So commercially also you have such equipments which can carry out the same process. Okay, and sometimes, if there is heavy monsoon season and all, the leachate which is collected into this evaporation pond will be recirculated back into the landfill. So you'll have to give a provision for recirculation as well. Okay, if there is heavy rainfall and all, there is no point in keeping it for evaporation. So then you will have to recirculate this leachate collected in the evaporation pond back into your landfill. So this is a natural evaporation pond. Okay, you can see the fencing around the pond. Actually, the crust should have been above the natural ground level. That is how the crust of the pond should be above the natural ground level. Okay, so this is in level with the ground. It should not be like that. Now, these are commercially available leachate evaporators. Okay, these are huge equipments. Here also the same evaporation takes place and you will be left with a sludge. Now, other way of managing leachate is to directly treat the leachate which has been collected out of the landfill system. And the leachate composition has a huge influence on the type of technique which has to be employed for its treatment, because leachate will mostly contain, there will be dissolved solids, there will be colloidal organics, there will be heavy metals, then there will be xenobiotic organics. So there is a very highly variable composition which exists in the leachate. Okay, so based on the it is contaminant specific that we apply a suitable treatment technique, whether it's physical, chemical or biological technique. And either if you have assessed the quality of leachate even before the landfill designing, during the landfill designing itself, then you will know what treatment technique to be employed for the particular type of leachate. Then if possible, and if you have sufficient space and if cost, then you can construct a suitable treatment plant at the site itself. Otherwise you will have to take it off site, and that will naturally increase your cost. Okay, so various physical techniques, biological treatment techniques and chemical treatment techniques are available. So the choice of technology depends largely upon the characteristics of the leachate, the discharge limitations and the site constraints. Okay, so these three are a few of the ways in which we can manage the leachate which has been collected out of the landfill. There are various other techniques as well. So for now, we will be dealing with only these three techniques of leachate management. So thank you.